Hello guys, Kieran here with Explorminate. Welcome to the next video on the Ashes of the Singularity Escalation series. Going to be about 3 videos here of me doing a 3v3v2 match. King of the Hill type game mode, first one at 2,000 points. And as you can probably notice, maybe you haven't, this is actually a voiceover. It turns out I am terrible at playing this game and narrating it in any way that's remotely worth putting on the internet for you to watch. So we're going to narrate this afterwards. See how this goes. Haven't done this before, but kind of needed to. I am pointing out a couple things here. The AI who's in spot number, well, top middle. I can't read which spot that is here. How I'm recording this. He's a little bit tougher than everyone else. He's 1 difficulty higher. Reason for that, in my previous 2 recordings that the video actually didn't save, frustratingly enough, of the same map, that AI died. I just ended up pulling so much weight. I wanted to try to show off gameplay more. So anyhow, there's that little bit of cheat build in there. Full disclosure, right? What I'm doing right here, I start with a builder, queuing up a builder, and I'm building a factory down at this first zone adjacent to my base. Now, each zone is going to have either minerals, radioactives, or radioactives in it, excuse me. Sometimes they can just be a control point, I suppose, too, but primarily they'll be resource driven. That's why you want to capture them. You see my home base and this first zone both have mineral slots, so I'm going to develop those. As I'm doing that, you're probably noticing the top left corner, my mineral income is going from like plus a couple every second to negative and back and forth. When I talked about this being a macro game, that's really the crux of this being so, I guess, big picture focused, is because resource gathering is just constant, and you want to maximize what you're building. You know, see here I'm building a second factory already churning out a few troops, just some basic frigates, some brutes and some archers. So they're essentially the little tankier guys and the little glass cannon guys. Both not very strong, very easy to get destroyed by defenses and bigger ships, but hey, it's what we have at the beginning. And I'm just queuing them up, and I will keep them queued up indefinitely, you'll notice, because as long as I have the resources, I should be, and I need to be, producing units consistently. We're moving out here, so I have one zone, right? I need another zone, because I have minerals, also like some radioactive, so I can start getting some more advanced units. Pretty easy to clear out the NPCs here. Gonna send my worker unit up here to develop the radioactives. Same as the minerals. It's a very basic economic system, but it works very well. If you've played Supreme Commander, you're pretty familiar with the general idea behind it, right? I think it's the best way to do these large scale games of this sort, because otherwise you would just have insane amounts of work to do and keep up with. It'd be like a StarCraft 2 game gone bad with the scale of units we have. So with that here, yeah, got both my factories churning out units. Moving down to another zone, zooming out a little bit, you get to see the strategic map. I think that's what they call it. What did they call it? I forget. We're going to call it the strategic map. There's ways to zoom out, as you kind of saw there, and you can still control the game fairly well from there. When I actually do hotkey my armies later and develop them, you'll see that, and you have pretty good indicators based on how many rings are around that unit. You'll notice there's a square around the number 1. How thick that is determines how strong it is a lot of times. So that's very useful because, really, you're just throwing units at each other in this game. And I don't mean that in like a boring way. It's pretty entertaining, and honestly, it is a fast-paced game. But that just allows you to keep up at some points. I imagine if you got very good at this game, unlike I am, full disclosure, I'm not a pro Ashes of the Singularity player, so wrong movie for that. I can hold my own against like normal AI typically, although I think this is intermediate technically. So I'm not even that right. But yeah, it's a very fast-paced game. It's nice that you have the option to pull out and control the game, and it works very well, either for reinforcing, and the mini-map even shows individual little frigates well enough that you can select and things to reinforce armies if there's just random units floating out there with pretty good effectiveness. So that has been a definite plus with Escalation. Uh, to see that come out, I didn't play very much of the vanilla version of the game, uh, but that strategic map is just one of those things that you're like, wow, this really needs it, and the way it's developed now is what the game needs. So another plus one in the why would you not buy the standalone expansion, right? Not saying the original game was a flop or anything, but that was needed for you to control things on the level wheel. Here, to get back into what I'm doing here a little bit more, you notice right there I upgraded my storage. The PHC, unlike the substrate, you have to upgrade your storage capacity. I do that a little bit up here because I'm anticipating building a Dreadnought, biggest land unit in the game, here in the next little bit. To do so, it's going to take a lot of resources that I probably can't supply, even when I fully expand out. So the idea behind that is if you have enough stocked away, you don't hit the bottom of the barrel before you get the unit built, right? So there's that most definitely. Captured another zone here. Still just trying to consolidate my units and excuse me, move out. Here we are. Gonna go take one more area up here. One complaint I have with the game I want to point out here. If you look at the minimap, it's pretty obvious there should be a spot up there, I suppose. But I frequently run into problems where I just can't tell where I'm supposed to go. I do appreciate that they have, I don't know if you can tell, they have lines between the zones you might see. Literal lines. They're like gray and kind of like dashed lines almost. Between zones to point you to where you need to go if you're not familiar with the map, which is nice. But it is unfortunate that sometimes the terrain types, I'm like, is this a canyon? Okay, yeah, I can go up that, can't go up that. I'm not sure if I played with a little bit higher graphic fidelity if some of that would change. I don't believe so. My graphics card isn't the worst. It's definitely not up to par with what they want you to play with on this in terms of the recommended settings, right? But the small time I have had with this, with more powerful graphics cards, it seems to be a little bit of a learning curve, especially with maps. So you might notice me sometimes trying to tell people to drive into a cliff that they can't climb up. If you see that, that's what's going on there. Still just churning out units. I've got my 2 armories, you see, the Hockey 9 there. Those are building up the cruisers, the bigger ships, of course. And then the 2 factors are still churning things out. So starting to get a little hairy down here, as you saw, with some of the AI engaging. I'm in the safest spot. I took that on purpose because I'm greedy, and just because I'm better than the AI. Well, smarter than the AI in terms of moving things around. Not better, definitely. The AI again is quite competent, but yeah. There goes the Dreadnought factory. So I'm going to work on getting a Dreadnought here to kind of lead my army to battle. Upgrading the storage again here, it looks like. And notice the top middle of the screen there. Some people are starting to fight for control of those points. So they're just going to start taking some points. Going to start working towards that King of the Hill. This is an amplifier, I think is what it's called, if I'm not mistaken there. What you do, you build it on an area. It has to be destroyed before you can capture it, which is useful. Also increases your resource output. Just trying to milk every last bit of minerals or radioactives I can, since I'm kind of landlocked at this point. Because of my allies, it's fine. Everyone only has so much room to expand, so we gotta fight. So just trying to get a little bit of an economic edge here. As you saw right there, was able to very easily zoom out, select after I saw there was units sitting there, dispatch them down here. So very useful. Very useful strategic map. Want a little engagement there, nothing too hard. And then here, I'm building a, I forget what it is. It's one of the 6 upgrade buildings, followed by some anti-air turrets in case they fly some bombers up here. I don't want to use my quantum generators. What that upgrade building I constructed does, though, it allows me to build a special cruiser that, if it's embedded with an army, which just basically means it's part of, the Hockey 1 army or the Hockey 2 or 3 or whatever, when I construct units, they warp right to the army as opposed to the long crawl. Because you notice right now, my supply lines are really long. both in terms of if someone came and captured a zone right next to my base, I would be cut off from everything else, but also just to get units to the front is taking forever. So I'm investing in that pretty quickly so that I can have the advantage, hopefully, here of slightly larger armies, just based off the fact that I can warp them right in and not have to drive them all the way across the map. So canceling that. Yep, there it is. So just queued that up right there, and then I'm gonna pop a Dreadnought here, I think. Unless I was hesitating. Yeah, I must have hesitated there for a second. I didn't want to blow through all my storage. Working on capturing that. As you see, if you're just in an area, whether it's a King of the Hill point like this, or if it's a zone with resources, you just get by it. If you're the only one there, you start capturing it. So very easy. You don't need any special ships. Anyone or anything can capture this. You can actually call in even little incursions, just a few frigates, to go and capture a point, which if you have an air unit scouted out, you can drop that using your orbital abilities, which I don't use too much of here, but that is one way. If they've got a long supply line, you can maybe really just tick your enemy off, really ruin their day. So drove them off here, taking another supply point, or sorry, capture point. Trying to fight for supremacy here. Okay. Zooming out, things are looking good. And I am going to upgrade my logistics there again, because I want to make sure I can just keep building guys. And now I'm going to queue up right to the army. That's what I was telling you about. So that's a new unit with Escalation. Really good addition, just because, I mean, that's just awesome to be able to do that. That's probably the reason I like the PHC so much more than the Substrate, is because I love these just like instant warp-in ability there. Very, very helpful. Little bit of a fight here. As you can see, I don't think I pointed this out, there was a little lightning arcs there. Those are from the cruisers, as opposed to just the little pew-pew missiles and stuff from the frigates. The battles really do look gorgeous, and I mean all the projectiles that get flying is pretty incredible. Again, that's why their recommended settings are pretty high for the game, because if you have the machine, if you have the hardware, it utilizes it most definitely. So what are we doing here? Dropped an orbital ability right there. That's one I do use. It speeds up construction for about 2 minutes, which is going to be a little less because I'm playing on fastest speed here. So whatever that speeds up, I don't know if that's 1.5 speed or whatnot, but essentially just trying to get the Dreadnought out. I don't see an enemy Dreadnought yet, but I don't want my army to run into a Dreadnought and not have one. Substantially higher health. I don't know what he starts out with to begin with. What's the boat? It's like, I mean, it's 14,000 health or something like that. So it's a ton of health and just deals a ton of damage. But that will be coming out soon. Yeah, just getting queued up here. We got a pretty good start here. We hold the center part of the map fairly well. You notice we're not the strongest, right? Orange and teal are both stronger. And then purple up there is on his own. So there are stronger AI out there right now. And that does include defensive buildings and things. So that can be deceiving sometimes. There's not really a phantom army out there always. But they're definitely stronger than some of us. I guess our guy blue is number 2. And then gray is below me. So strength-wise, we're not too bad. But we're positioned quite well. I'm going to want to start building static defenses down there at some point. I don't know if I actually get around to that. Now that I think about it, I think I was just pouring into the mobile. The mobile army's taking that route here. Trying to get a second army going here. Just so I can have kind of a group to go put out fires. That makes sense. You've probably noticed how slow things run. So, how slow the units move. So I need a second group for that. And there when it came a Dreadnought too. You saw there for a second how big it is compared to everything else. I mean, you zoom out, you can see that. It's like the size of a building, right? These things are Dreadnoughts for a reason. And they're very powerful. There's 3 specialties. There's an building, like artillery type. There's an anti-Dreadnought type. It's like a Dreadnought sniper. And then there's, of course, just your regular, that's what I built. The Hyperion, I think is what it is. Dreadnought. Okay, so AI here, this is purple. is trying to take this point that he's on that team of two valiantly fighting. Those guys actually do very well. Gonna wrap them up pretty well, but that was a pretty good little glimpse into how different the armies look. You've seen mine a lot as I zoom in here. The substrate though look definitely just completely different, which is nice to have the aesthetic difference there. Not just for telling who's who, that's not the problem, but it does differentiate them a little bit, since I feel like they do play similar to each other. Then could have been worked out, but here we are. And I put it in orbital jammer as well. I don't want them to call an incursion in. Sometimes what you can do is pull an incursion if there's no real great ground defenses and just go trash generators, factories, stuff like that. I've had that happen before, so I'm just preparing for that, just to protect my main base there. And then I'm queuing up a second Dreadnought for that second army. I'm trying to get going here. Still not incredibly successful with that, as you can tell, but it will come. So winding down here, yeah, we're just continuing to crunch troops out. Obviously operating kind of at a negative there for radioactives. That is a problem where I'm positioned. I need more than that, but excuse me there. Got a nice block of troops, and you see my Dreadnought's about to drive in to come join the party. So stay tuned. We'll show off some strategic bombers, some of the newer units and things, and get some more combat here. So we'll just end here. I think I zoom out in the map a little bit and things like that. To give you an idea of what's going on. You can see my massive force just wrapping around there. So got to drive around that lava crater. But anyhow, hopefully this is a good start for you. Yep, there's the pause. So stay tuned for more. Watch how it turns out and get a little bit more of a glimpse how the battles play out and things. So thanks for watching, guys, and we'll make sure to catch you next video. Until then, thanks.